They told you aging meant slowing down. That intimacy would fade, energy would vanish, and your best days belonged in the rearview mirror. But what if they were wrong? What if the exhaustion, the distance in your relationship, the fog in your mind weren't caused by age at all? What if it was something else, something no one ever taught you to navigate, because they were too ashamed to talk about it? This video isn't about judgment. It's not about shame. And it's not about pretending aging doesn't change the body, because it does. But change isn't the same as decline. And today we're going to explore one of the most misunderstood, quietly taboo, yet profoundly important topics in men's health. The truth about self-pleasure after 60. This might not be what you expected, but if you're still engaging in solo touch, or even if you've stopped but quietly wonder if something's missing, I urge you to keep watching. Because the body you live in right now, tired or not stiff, or not still, holds the keys to pleasure, strength, and yes, healing. But only if you understand how it works now, not how it worked 30 years ago. 30 plus. This is for you if you've ever woken up more tired than when you went to sleep. If you've felt that creeping sense of disconnect from your body. You still feel desire, but it's tangled in confusion, guilt, or uncertainty. Maybe you've noticed changes. Erections feel different. Sensation feels muted. Or maybe it's your emotions, loneliness, irritability, or that quiet whisper asking, "Am I still me?" You are not alone. And no, you are not broken. What you're feeling is more common than anyone wants to admit. Not because men don't care, but because most were never given the language or the permission to explore this part of their life with curiosity and care, especially as they age. Let's be honest. Most of us didn't grow up with honest science-backed education about our bodies, especially when it came to sexuality. We were told, don't touch, don't ask, and don't talk about it. So we didn't. We figured it out alone in silence. And now, decades later, that silence has created confusion, even fear about what's healthy, what's harmful, and how to care for a body that's quietly evolving every day. But here's the truth, solo touch isn't just about sex. It's about circulation. It's about hormone regulation. It's about sleep, stress, memory, and mental clarity. It's also about identity, feeling alive in your own skin. And yet almost no one talks about this with older men. Not our doctors, not our partners, not even ourselves. So let's start there with the silence. You lay next to someone you love but feel miles apart. You forget the name of your neighbor's dog even though you've greeted them every morning for years. You feel cold even under blankets. You feel restless even after a full night's sleep. And beneath it all, there's a quiet fear. A fear that maybe the spark is gone for good. That maybe you waited too long to take care of yourself. That maybe this, the fatigue, the fog, the flatness is just how life feels now. But what if it's not? What if your body isn't shutting down but simply waiting for a signal? What if the very act you've been told to be ashamed of is actually the key to restoring connection, clarity, and even longevity? Because that's what emerging science suggests when you remove the stigma, stop rushing, and finally understand how your body works after 60. Let me share a story. Imagine a man in his late 60s, divorced for years, grown children who visit on holidays. He eats well, walks daily, watches his salt. And late at night in private, he still seeks out pleasure. Sometimes it feels grounding, sometimes it feels empty. But what he doesn't realize is that every time he repeats the same motions he learned at 20, same speed, same grip, same posture, he may be slowly causing damage he can't feel until it's too late. Why? Because aging changes everything. The pelvic floor loses tone. Nerves become more sensitive to compression. Hormonal responses become more delicate. Circulation, once strong and rapid, now takes more time. Yet no one ever taught him how to adapt his habits to his current biology. So he does what he's always done. And one day wakes up with numbness or pain or a total loss of sensitivity. And then the shame hits. He wonders if he's damaged himself permanently, if his body is betraying him, if he's lost the ability to connect not just with someone else but with himself. But here's the powerful truth: he hasn't. Because with the right understanding, with science on his side, and with a bit of compassion, he can not only reverse the damage, he can rebuild strength, sensitivity, and confidence. And so can you. This isn't fantasy. This is biology. Modern research from Harvard, the Mayo Clinic, and European neuroscience labs is finally unraveling the truth. Ejaculation impacts far more than your sex drive. It influences your prostate health, your immune response, your sleep cycles, and your emotional regulation. Masturbation, when practiced with intention, can be an incredible tool, not just for pleasure, but for vitality. But when done without awareness, without adaptation, it can quietly create problems that show up years later. The good news: you're not too late. You're not broken. And you don't need pills, shame, or silence to start feeling alive again. Because in part 2, we're going to explore exactly what happens to your body after 60, and why how you self-stimulate matters more than how often. We'll walk through the science of hormones, nerves, circulation, and emotional connection. And more importantly, how to listen to what your body's been trying to tell you all along. Your next chapter doesn't have to be quiet. It can be bold, curious, and full of clarity. Let's begin with the part most men were never taught: to respect the biology behind what's actually happening to their body after 60. Because if you've ever wondered why your energy feels drained after climax, or why your sensitivity seems to be fading, or why your emotions feel more raw than ever after release, it's not your imagination. It's chemistry. It's circulation. And most of all, it's your hormones adapting to a new season of life. Here's the truth no one tells you. After age 50, testosterone doesn't just gently decline. It drops in waves. And when it drops, everything changes. Your drive weakens. Recovery slows. Sleep gets lighter. Muscles shrink. Memory slips. And libido, that once burning, effortless current, becomes a flicker that needs protection, not just stimulation. But testosterone is just the beginning. Blood flow, especially to the pelvic region, begins to diminish. Not because you're unhealthy, but because your vascular system, the pipes and valves that carry life to every cell, are aging. Slower flow means weaker erections, delayed arousal, and longer recovery times after orgasm. And then there's cortisol, the stress hormone. As you age, cortisol tends to rise. It's subtle, but the effects aren't. Elevated cortisol doesn't just make you feel tense or wired. It suppresses testosterone, weakens your immune system, and interferes with sleep, the very pillars of long-term health. So what does all this mean for solo pleasure? It means this act, once automatic and frictionless, is now a system-wide hormonal event. Every time you self-stimulate, your entire neuroendocrine network gets involved. That includes testosterone, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, prolactin, cortisol, all interacting in a delicate symphony. When done consciously, this symphony promotes balance, clarity, and deep rest. But when done unconsciously, rushed, poorly positioned, or out of boredom, the result can be hormonal chaos. Fatigue, irritability, even anxiety. But there's good news. A landmark study from the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health tracked more than 30,000 men over nearly 2 decades. To our goal: To answer one surprising question, can the frequency of ejaculation predict long-term prostate health? The answer: yes. And not just slightly. Men who ejaculated at least 21 times per month had a 33% lower risk of developing prostate cancer compared to those who ejaculated only 4 to 7 times monthly. Think about that. No medication, no surgery, just your body's own natural cleansing mechanism flushing the prostate, reducing inflammation, and moving out built-up cellular debris that over time can become toxic. It's like rinsing out a coffee maker. If you let residue sit too long, it hardens, it clogs, it begins to rot the very system designed to support you. Ejaculation, whether from partnered intimacy or solo touch, is your body's rinse cycle. It clears the ducts, restores blood flow, and reduces risk in a way most men and even doctors never fully understood. But it doesn't stop there. Orgasm also triggers a neurochemical cascade that modern neuroscience is only just beginning to map. Here's what happens. Dopamine, your motivation and reward chemical surges. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, floods the brain, creating feelings of warmth and connection. Serotonin rises, helping to stabilize mood. And cortisol, the stress hormone, it drops rapidly. The result? Your heart rate slows, muscles relax, the mind softens, and you begin to enter a state of nervous system recovery. For older adults struggling with sleep, this is massive. In fact, several researchers now believe that orgasm may directly improve sleep latency. That's how quickly you fall asleep, and enhance the depth of your sleep thanks to the release of prolactin. That's the hormone your body produces after climax that says, it's time to rest. Combine that with the drop in cortisol, and you've got a potent natural recipe for the kind of sleep modern medicine has tried to replicate with pills for years. But that's only if you allow your body to fully complete the cycle, not rush through it. That's only if you stimulate in a way that supports circulation and relaxation, not tension and trauma. Because here's where the conversation takes a turn. Just because something feels good doesn't mean it's good for you in the long run, especially when done the same way for decades. Let's talk about nerve compression, something almost no one discusses. The Pudendal nerve is the main neural pathway that carries sensation, motor control, and blood flow to the genitals and pelvic floor. And it can be compressed repeatedly, especially if you self-stimulate while sitting on a hard chair, leaning forward with all your weight, pressing down on the base of your pelvis. Over time, this posture can squeeze the nerve, restricting blood flow and dulling sensation. Men often report numbness, tingling, or a strange ache deep in the lower pelvis. Some mistake it for prostate pain. Others ignore it. But the root cause can often be traced back to years of unconscious postural pressure. And that's just one of the hidden risks. Another micro-trauma. When you repeat the exact same grip angle and pressure, especially without lubricant, you're applying chronic repetitive stress to the same tissues and nerve endings. Over time, this leads to desensitization. You need more pressure to feel less. Climax becomes delayed. Sensation becomes dull. And when you finally do connect with a partner, the stimulation doesn't match what your brain's been trained to expect. This is called neural rigidity, and it's one of the fastest-growing intimacy problems in men over 60. The body has learned only one pattern. The brain expects one outcome, and everything outside that narrow lane feels off. So what's the solution? It starts with awareness. You are not powerless in the face of aging. In fact, you are more powerful than ever, because now you have the wisdom to see beyond impulse, beyond shame, beyond old habits. You have the opportunity to turn a once automatic act into a daily practice of vitality. A health ritual. A check-in with your hormones, your nervous system, your pelvic floor, and even your emotions. And in part 3, we'll explore that in detail. You'll learn the 3 most powerful changes you can make to your solo routine immediately to protect your nerves, enhance sensation balance hormones, and turn masturbation into a healing practice. No gimmicks, no pressure. Just simple, profound, science-backed wisdom that can change how you feel for the rest of your life. Because this isn't just about pleasure, it's about power. And you've still got it. Let's get practical now. Because understanding the science is one thing, but knowing what to actually do with that information, especially in the privacy of your own home, that's where real transformation happens. You've lived long enough to know that the right daily habits can shape your health more than any pill ever could. And when it comes to self-pleasure, after 60 small changes in position, intention, and technique can mean the difference between feeling drained or feeling deeply restored. So let's explore the 3 most powerful shifts you can make to transform solo touch into a practice of strength, not strain. Shift 1: change your position, save your nerves. Let's start with what's hurting men the most often, without them even realizing it. Poor posture during stimulation. Picture this: you're slouched in a chair, laptop, open back hunched, legs spread, pressure resting on your pelvic floor. You think nothing of it, it's how you've always done it. But that position, it compresses the Pudendal nerve, the same nerve we discussed earlier, the one responsible for sexual sensation, arousal, blood flow, and even urinary control. Sitting on a hard surface with no lower back support cuts off circulation. It weakens nerve conductivity, and over time it can lead to chronic pelvic pain, numbness, or erectile dysfunction. Here's how you fix it. Lie back. Recline. Use pillows under your knees. Make sure your spine and lower back are fully supported. If you're seated, make sure there's no direct pressure on your perineum. That's the space between the genitals and the anus, where the pudendal nerve runs. You're not just being more comfortable. You're protecting the very wiring that keeps you sensitive and responsive. Shift 2: always use lubrication. Every time you might not have needed it in your 20s, but now it's non-negotiable. As we age, the skin becomes thinner, the nerve endings more delicate. Circulation takes longer to return, and the risks of micro tears, irritation, and inflammation rise significantly. Lubrication isn't optional, it's maintenance. Think of it like oiling the engine of a classic car. Not because it's weak, but because it's valuable. A good water-based, unscented lubricant minimizes friction, protects nerve endings, and reduces the risk of desensitization. It also encourages slower, more conscious touch, which leads us to the next critical shift. Shift 3: vary your technique. Train your brain, not just your body. This may be the most overlooked and most powerful strategy of all. Because when you repeat the exact same pattern over and over, same hand, same speed, same visual stimulus, you're not just training your body, you're training your brain. And the brain, like any muscle, becomes efficient at what it repeats. Eventually, you create what's known as neural rigidity, meaning your arousal only responds to very specific inputs. You lose the ability to feel excitement in real-world intimacy because your mind has been conditioned to need only one kind of stimulus. It's not your partner, it's not your age, it's your wiring, and you can rewire it. Here's how: switch hands. Slow down. Focus on sensation, not just release. Breathe deeply. Close your eyes and imagine the warmth of connection, not just visual stimulation. This isn't about performance. It's about presence. You're expanding your nervous system's capacity to experience a wider range of pleasure, not just the one kind it's been fed for years. Think of it like cross-training. Just like you wouldn't do bicep curls and nothing else, you shouldn't rely on one method of stimulation either. But here's something deeper. These physical shifts are just the beginning. What really changes your experience is intention. Ask yourself, am I doing this to escape boredom? Am I numbing stress? Or am I connecting with myself? Because when masturbation becomes automatic, it stops serving you. It becomes a reflex, not a relationship. But when done with care, with awareness, it becomes something else entirely. A moment of intimacy with yourself. A way to monitor your health. A way to keep circulation strong. Nerves responsive, hormones balanced. And a mirror. Yes, a mirror. Because solo touch will reflect how you feel about yourself and whether you believe your aging body is still worthy of pleasure, attention, and care. Spoiler alert, it is. Let's talk about frequency, because this is where a lot of men get confused. How often is too often? Well, the Harvard study we mentioned earlier found that men who ejaculated 21 times per month had a 33% reduced risk of prostate cancer. But here's the nuance most people miss. More is not always better. You have to listen to your body. If you're feeling energized after a solo session, if your mind feels clear, your body feels grounded, that's a green light. But if you feel tired, foggy, irritable, or disconnected, that's your body's way of asking for rest, not more stimulation. It's not about a magic number. It's about how you feel afterward. And if your erections only occur during solo time but not with a partner, that's a sign to look deeper. It may be time to get your hormone panel checked: testosterone, DHT, estradiol, prolactin, and PSA levels. Because self-pleasure should enhance your vitality, not mask declining health. So what are we really saying here? We're saying that this private act, one that most men learned in secrecy, can become a source of power, healing, and self-knowledge if practiced with wisdom. But if done carelessly, repetitively, or compulsively, it can create the very disconnection most men are trying to avoid. This isn't about shame. This is about stepping into mastery. You've lived through war, heartbreak, job loss, parenting, aging. You've adapted 1,000 times before. This is just one more evolution. You're not chasing youth. You're claiming presence. In part 4, we'll complete the journey. We'll show you exactly how to turn masturbation into a diagnostic health check, a ritual of self-respect, and a tool for long-term vitality physically, emotionally, and hormonally. Plus, we'll share the daily 3-step plan that's changing lives for men and women over 60 who want to sleep better, love deeper, and age with clarity. Because it's not about frequency, it's about consciousness. And the moment you begin treating this act as sacred as a health practice is the moment your body begins to heal. Let's finish this journey not with rules, but with a roadmap. Because by now you've seen that solo pleasure after 60 isn't about shame or performance, or how many times a month you do it. It's about how you do it. It's about why you do it. And it's about who you become in the process. You've learned how posture affects nerves, how intention rewires the brain, how hormones shift, and how old habits, when left unchecked, can chip away at sensitivity and connection. But now it's time to rebuild with clarity, with confidence, and with kindness to the body that has carried you this far. Because aging doesn't mean breaking down. It means waking up to what your body needs now, not what it used to tolerate. So here it is, the simple, powerful 3-step routine that helps men over 60 reconnect to their vitality one day at a time. Step 1, morning reset, sunlight, fruit, and breath. Start your day with intention. Before reaching for your phone or sitting in the same worn chair, step outside. Let the light hit your skin even for 5 minutes. Sunlight early in the morning resets your circadian rhythm, boosts testosterone, and anchors your nervous system for the day ahead. Then eat something alive. A handful of red grapes, a banana with cinnamon, a boiled egg with olive oil. Something that fuels your system without spiking cortisol. And breathe. deeply. Because most men over 60 have learned to hold their breath without even noticing. Years of stress, shame, and unspoken fear live in your chest. Exhale. Let it go. Let your body expand again. That's the real morning routine, not caffeine, not news, not emails, just light, nourishment, and a breath that says, I'm still here. Step 2. Midday, awareness, a moment of connection. Sometime in the middle of your day, maybe after lunch, maybe while walking, pause and check in with yourself. Not in judgment, in curiosity. Ask, how do I feel in my body right now? Do I feel tension, desire, numbness? What am I avoiding? What am I craving? And then, if you feel the urge for self-pleasure, consider this. Is it a genuine desire for connection, or is it a habit to escape boredom? No shame in either. But awareness changes everything. If you choose to proceed, recline. Use support. Use lubrication. Slow down. Focus on your breath, your heartbeat, your internal state. Treat this as a conversation with your body, not a performance for someone else's fantasy. Feel the feedback. Is it warm, numb, sensitive? Notice any changes in skin shape or sensitivity. That's how masturbation becomes a diagnostic tool. It's not about getting off, it's about tuning in. Because the earlier you notice shifts in sensitivity, lumps, discoloration, or nerve response, the sooner you can get help, and in many cases prevent long-term damage. This is not indulgence. This is self-monitoring, the mature kind. Step 3. Evening restoration. Ritual, not screens. Now, more than ever, your evenings need to be sacred. No blue light, no distractions, no numbing rituals. Instead, 30 minutes before bed, create what I call a slowing circle. That could mean drinking chamomile or ashwagandha tea, journaling one sentence about how your body felt today, stretching your hips or groin gently to release pelvic tension, sitting quietly in the dark with your hand on your chest. You'd be amazed what 5 minutes of silence can reveal after a lifetime of noise. And if you self-pleasure at night, do it slowly, with full breath, with kindness, not to prove something, not to fix something, but to simply return to yourself. That's the real climax, not the peak, but the reunion. So what happens if you follow this path? Here's what we've seen. Prostate inflammation goes down. Sensation gradually returns. Erections last longer and feel stronger. Sleep becomes deeper and easier to access. Energy stabilizes throughout the day. Confidence grows not from ego, but from presence. Because presence is the new power. And that brings us to the emotional heart of this message. You gave your energy to your job, your loyalty to your family, your focus to raising children, making money, doing the right thing. And somewhere in that timeline, you stopped listening to your own body. It wasn't your fault. Society never gave men space to explore their emotions, their needs, their pleasure, especially not past 50. But that changes now. You are not too old. You are not too far gone. You are not broken. You are a man with decades of wisdom and still more strength than you've been told. Your libido isn't disappearing. It's waiting for you to come back. Not through pills, not through pressure, through presence, through intention, through courage, because the bravest thing you can do right now is show up for your own body with respect, curiosity, and zero shame. So here's your soft invitation. If this video touched something in you, if you felt seen, understood, or maybe even a little uncomfortable, that's okay. That's how healing begins. Drop a comment below that simply says, I'm ready. Because you are. Ready to rewire old patterns. Ready to reclaim intimacy. Ready to age strong, not silently. And if this resonates, don't stop here. You were never meant to fade. You were meant to evolve. And if no one has told you this lately, you are still worthy of pleasure, power, and peace. Let this video be your permission slip. Now go live like you mean it.